Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering episode 2 on how to do flow style edits. So in episode 1 we covered how to do this animation right here, but now for episode 2 we're going to be adding in this part right here. It looks pretty sick in my opinion. I'm going to show you my secret method behind doing Minimax transitions, warp shakes, and all of that good stuff I'm going to cover later on in the video. So no more talk. This is the first video I'm recording since I turned 20 years old. I know, man, I'm uncaged now, so I gotta add the part. Listen, I stand on my statement from episode 1. It's a very popular style and it's very versatile, so it's in your best interest to learn how to do this style. So no more talk, let's get straight into the video. Okay guys, so this is what we're going to be creating today. It's building up on our previous edit from the last tutorial, so if you do require a bit more context, it will make a bit more sense if you do watch the first video, so I'm linking it up above here if you want to check it out. So all the videos or like files I'm going to be using in this tutorial are all going to be linked down in the description below for you guys to go check out and follow along with. Okay, so starting off, remember we finished on this clip right here in the previous edit, and now we're going to be taking this intro clip from the video linked down in the description. With it being around 24 frames or 30 frames, however long it is, the longer the clip is, the shorter I can make it and the more legroom I'll have to do slow motion. So the first thing I'm going to do is go onto this clip right here and press Ctrl-Alt-T to open up the time remap option. Then I'm going to keyframe right here where we want the clip to start, go all the way to the end where I want it to end, and then keyframe that as well. How time remapping works is, you see this point I've made right here? If I drag it along, that's exactly where it's going to be. So this is just a sped up version of where it was before. But yeah, now you can see it's a lot more sped up, and that gives me more leg room to do slow motion. So I'm going to highlight both of these and press F9 just to ease the keyframes, then go into the graph editor itself. Now on this channel we normally use the speed graph, but what you're going to do this time is right click and go into the edit value graph. Once you're there, you should have something looking like this once you've pressed F9. But we're going to change this up a little bit. First thing you're going to do is click on that original point and drag it upwards and basically make a similar curve to what I've got right here. Again, it does not have to be perfect. It's completely up to you how you want to play it, but this is how I would do it. You can see it goes fast, then slows down, and then goes fast again. But now on to the next step is we're going to be adding a simple shake transition from the previous clip onto this one right here. But if you didn't see the last video, to pretty much sum it up, it's a very normal sapphire shake with an extra brightness and contrast added on top. It gives it that flash effect, which I find is really cool, and yeah, that's all we really need for this part here. And now on to the next part. Now in episode 1, I showed you guys two really important keys into the flow style. It was the posterized time and the hotspots effect, but not any hotspots effect. If you weren't paying attention last time or you didn't see it, it's completely fine. I'm going to show you how to do it over from scratch. So what you're going to do is press Ctrl-Alt-Y to add a new adjustment layer and then add in the effect posterized time. A lot of flow editors use this in general, but I'm going to set mine to roughly 16 FPS. It really gives it that signature look. Then after that, you're going to add another adjustment layer with Ctrl-Alt-Y again and add in these sapphire hotspots, just like this. Now, if you don't have sapphire hotspots, in the previous episode, I did cover how you can achieve a similar effect with no plugin, so be sure to go check that out. But to summarize all of it up, you just press Alt and then go into the threshold and then type in wiggle at the bottom over here. Then inside the brackets, you can add any sort of numbers you'd like. But the original values that I did use in the previous tutorial is a wiggle 10, 0.25. So just copy that and you'll be all right. And you can see we've still got a lot to do, but we are getting there. It's looking good, guys. On to the next step. So guys, in the tutorial pack I've done down below, the Ghost of Tsushima logo will be inside there. So the next step is to import it in, just like this. Basically, you're going to add in a drop shadow and then a deep glow underneath it. You can play around with the settings, but these are mine if you want to copy them. Next thing you're going to do is find a rough spot where you'd like the transition to take place. I'm going to go roughly about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll go about 12 frames, okay? And then just cut the previous part off until you have something looking like this. Not very smooth, I know, but trust me, we're getting there. Don't worry about it. One thing I am going to do as well, actually, I've just noticed it. I feel the hotspots is a bit too strong. So because we've got the wiggle on there, we can actually reduce this and the flicker will still kind of work. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy with that being a little bit lower, just so we can see the sky a little bit better. In my opinion, that is much better. It kind of gives it like a stormy night sky look, which I prefer. The key thing to maintain here is with all the effects we're doing, to keep them underneath the posterized time and the hotspots. That way, everything will look normal. Because if you have like a shake at 30 FPS, but the rest of it is 16 FPS, it doesn't look quite right. So you'll see what I mean later on, but let's move on. Before we go any further, I'm going to press Ctrl-Alt-Y and add in a new adjustment layer and then type in the effect noise HLS, just like that. Now be my guest and mess around with the noise HLS however you like, but if you do want to copy me, I set the noise from uniform to grain, and then here are my settings if you want to copy them. Like I said before, it's all personal choice, but to really add to the effect, I do like the grainy look. Alright, on to the next part. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for the Minimax transition. Now, a lot of people assume, yeah, it's simple. You just change a couple of settings here and there. Minimax done, they're all the same. But no, not all Minimax transitions are created equally. I've got my own specific method that I kind of try to use every single time. It works pretty well for me, so I'm going to leak the source, no diddy, and show you guys right now. So let's go. So the very first one I'm going to do, you can see in these clips here, if I just turn it down to quarter so you guys can see the motion, you can see we're moving from the previous clip from left to right, okay? So it's kind of like a swiping motion horizontally. So in that case, I'm going to use a horizontal Minimax. I'm cutting down the noise HLS and then just making sure to bring that above everything else, just like this. Then underneath that, I'm going to add another adjustment layer and then add in the Minimax effect. One thing is, you don't need to worry about it being under the posterized time or the hotspots. It doesn't really make much of a difference that way. But then I'm going to cut it down 1 frame to the left and 1 frame to the right. So it's 2 frames long, okay? So I'm going to change the standard operation from maximum to minimum, then maximum. Set the radius to 170. And it's looking a bit mad right now. Don't worry. Then just horizontal on the direction, and this is what we've got. Now if I just shorten this just so I can play back for you guys really quickly, you can see how much smoother that looks with the Minimax transition added. In my opinion, it looks so much better. A lot of flow editors tend to do this as well. But yeah, now that we've sorted the Minimax transition, I'm going to also add one right here where the logo comes in. Now, one thing I do want to stress right now, and I highly recommend you guys do the same, is go onto the posterized time and just hide that layer for now. Just because the 16 FPS can make it look a bit weird when you're adding other effects in, but you can always turn it on afterwards. So yeah, hide that one for now. Let's move on. So you're going to put your marker to exactly where the logo comes in. Press Ctrl D on your Minimax and bring it along just like this. Make it a lot shorter to maybe only 2 frames instead of 3. And then this time I'm going to set it to just vertical. Like this. But yeah, I've just shortened the preview so you guys can see it without blowing up my computer, but I'm really in love with that first Minimax, no diddy. But the second one, it makes it a lot smoother when we transition into the logo, but it still does need a bit of work. But don't worry, we're not done yet. Let's go. I've just decided to do the exact same thing. Press Ctrl D over the top of these and then make some little quick 1 frame shots just to add a little bit of a flicker after the logo comes in. In my opinion, it makes it look a lot better. And trust me, you'll see how much of a difference it makes once we get to the final product. But I'm going to put this back on quarter so my PC don't blow up. But yeah, this is where we're at right now on the Minimaxes. Now it's time to add a little bit of finesse in there and make it a lot better. Trust me, this is where the source comes into play. The very first thing I'm going to do is go onto my original flag clip, which we started with. Make sure to add motion blur on it and then also make it 3D now. You'll see why in a second. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is right click, go onto new, and then add in a camera. Any focal length of your choice. Personally, I'm going to go with a wider one. Just kind of makes it look a little bit cooler in my opinion. Then I'm going to make sure to cut this down so I can see everything properly. But basically what I did was I went into the camera effects at the bottom. Then inside of transform, I keyframe point of interest and position. Went a little bit more forward to the beginning of the clip. Use the dolly tool, which is up here at the top, and simply just dragged it in like this until I've got a little smooth out animation like this. One thing as well, go into your Ghost of Tsushima logo, add motion blur, and make that 3D as well, just so the camera interacts with that the same way. Then I'm going to highlight all of these and press F9 to ease it. And you can see our timeline is starting to look a bit more complicated, but if you're a beginner, trust me, don't be intimidated by it. We've still got some little bits to go, but we're nearly there. What you're going to do is highlight your Ghost of Tsushima logo, press Ctrl Alt Y to make an adjustment layer directly above it. It's important this is below the posterized time and the hotspot. And what you're going to add in is a wiggle position, this one right here. Then you're going to set the settings to, let's say, 3 and 35. I don't know, you can choose whatever you like though. Make sure to cut it down so it's not affecting anything else. Okay, so with the posterized time hidden, you can see everything starting to come along quite nicely. But the Ghost of Tsushima logo is looking a bit plain with the transition. So let's fix that up right now. So I made another adjustment layer just above the logo itself and below the other effects that we added, like the hotspot flicker, posterized time, yada yada. Just make sure it's below everything, right? So the very next thing you're going to do is drag and drop in the shaking puddle effect from the Trap Essentials Foundations, which is linked down in the description below. Make sure to enable motion blur and press U till all the keyframes come up. Then go to where your logo appears right here and just drag them keyframes so it lines up properly. And you can see this is what we've got just off the back. That looks really sick in my opinion, but a few more tweaks are needed as, again, all clips are different. And after just some slight tweaks of moving everything around, this is what we've got. It looks okay, but watch when we put the posterized time on how different it's going to look. Make sure to enable it back on full playback for you guys and blow up my PC in the process. So if you want to use the exact same warp shake as me, plus get some other cool stuff like, I don't know, night vision, CRT, and a few other cool things, head over to the top link in the description and it's waiting there for you. Listen, ever since I turned 20 last Saturday, I feel like I keep rambling on, so no more talk. Let's get to the next part of the tutorial now. Okay guys, so after a few more tweaks to the settings of the shakes, etc., this is what I'm left with, but I still feel the actual transition itself does need a little bit of extra spice. So you know, on the actual Ghost of Tsushima logo, we're going to be adding in the ember particles I included inside the free pack for you. Now once you drag it in, you should have something looking like this. It just looks a bit plain, a bit weird, but not to worry, let's fix it up a little bit right now. I'm going to add in two different effects. So I added in a tint and mapped the white from white to red, and then added in a amount to tint of 47%. Then I added in a deep glow, and you can just copy the settings here if you want to. And this is what I'm left with. The next thing I'm going to do is drag that underneath everything and make sure it's right below our Ghost of Tsushima logo. Now I'm going to put this on quarter just so I can see everything properly. One thing I didn't mention you have to do is go into time, then go into time stretch, and then put that from 100 to 50. Just like this. It's going to make it double the speed basically. Also make sure it's 3D and also got motion blur enabled on it as well, and you're ready to go. Just mess about with the location of it and chop it down where you think it looks best. We've come to the end of another tutorial. Hope you lot enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you learned something. Make sure to smash that like button, comment and subscribe for more sick After Effects tutorials. I've got plenty of stuff loading for you guys, don't you worry. So follow for the journey and follow to see more sick effects, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love.